Let's straight away go and have a conversation with Rajiv Kumar Gupta of Policy Bazaar, who's joining me right now. And sir, we will speak to you about a lot of things. First of all, thank you so much for joining us here on Republic TV. We want to speak to you about the fintech sector. We know that there is a lot of, this is a buzzword, in fact, if we could say this. A lot of people who have been talking about it. Government push is there. This is a booming sector that the government has also been talking about. We just had Vibrant Gujarat as well, where the government had been talking about a focus on fintech as well. How do you see this sector? How do you see the growth of this since 2008, when the Policy Bazaar in fact had also come out? And since then, almost a decade from more than that, how are you looking at the trajectory of the entire sector? How are you looking at the trajectory going ahead as well?
So I think fintech, as you know, I mean, first of all, thank you for having me here. Fintech certainly has created the revolution, amongst the new age companies. I mean, if you look at most startups today or most unicorns today, you will see a large number coming from fintech. But that's the kind of scope which probably the sector had and continues to have, for new players to come. India is a large population. India has a significant number of young people as well, And I think we believe that financial literacy in this country is long way off, So what fintech companies have done is to be able to marry the digital environment, and financial literacy together for people to be more aware when they take decisions on financial matters. UPI certainly has helped us or helped most fintech companies to scale where they are, and that's one of the major revolutions for this country, and I think today it is being adopted worldwide, But I also see that the future in this space is yet not fully tapped, I mean, we can hear of big names, Policy Bazaar, there are many such other names in the industry. But I think the prevalence of these companies is more focused in the large, cities, right? So if you look at the next set of growth, is all going to come from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So while we have microfinance companies, but very few of them, who have probably dwelled into the tier 2, tier 3 cities. So I certainly see technology playing a key role, particularly AI and generative AI playing a big role for us to make inroads into the deep pockets of this country. And fintech certainly has a big scope. And government probably is also taking a lot of steps to support, fintech startups, youngsters who want to come and, who have an idea, who want to create something. Look at companies like Zerodha, which probably is the fastest growing, fintech company you've seen, bootstrapped but did so well. And I'm sure there are many such stories to come in future.
So, because very interesting, you mentioned the tier 2 and tier 3 cities and how that market is also responding to vis-a-vis the digital insurance part of it, because that is also something that you had mentioned a couple of years ago as well, that insurance is the most digital product as well. And this was during the time that Flipkart and Amazon and all of that was coming up, and there was a huge shift of consumer behavior and mindset as well that had to be tackled with. And how are you now looking at it and penetrating into the tier 2 and tier 3 cities, as you mentioned?
So let me say, today we have dealt with close to 80 million customers who are registered with, Policy Bazaar. Another probably half that number, on the Paisa Bazaar side. And close to 4 or 5 crore people have used our credit scores, which we provide free of cost. Now, if you look at the whole gambit of things, the whole idea was to create better awareness. When we say we married, digital, that was the only way we could bring in efficiencies. We could bring in affordable products, improved processes, that mindset of dealing with finance, will mean a lot of paperwork, will mean a lot of time, So I think that mindset had to be changed, and that mindset, certainly fintech played a big role. Digital companies played a big role in doing that. Now today, when I look at making inroads in, tier 2, tier 3 cities, as I mentioned earlier, the only way we can reach such large population is not through setting up, offline centers. It has to be a digital model, right? Where you create physical presence for people to get comfortable, and that's what we are doing. Not setting up large offices, but we're creating physical model in terms of having people educating these guys. Once we educate these people, I think UPI is already is there everywhere, right? Today, in every village or every town of the country, with internet access being so easily available, it's creating revolution. So for us to have transactions through digital mode is the easiest thing to do. But what is not easy is making people literate about what different financial products.
But do we have the infrastructure and how we essentially look at the fintech sector and how it can also lead to more growth in it? Because there are a lot of mid-level companies as well who are wanting to get into the sector, make their mark in the sector as well. And because we're sitting in Gujarat, we're looking at Gift City as another boost to the fintech sector as well. How are you looking at it in terms of the policy and the infrastructure available to us, and whether that is something that will incubate more players into the market?
I think you cannot get a better environment than what we have today. In the last decade, we have seen the number of government initiatives to support startups, and particularly the fintech startups. And I think Gift City is a revolution in terms of building infrastructure which will help all these companies to go global. You've seen successful companies in India, and with so much constraints around going global, Gift City eases out all those constraints, right? I mean, be it tax, be it GST, be it access to global markets. I think this kind of infrastructure will certainly boost, companies thinking of, beyond India. So while India itself is a big scope center, as I mentioned to you, it's not that India is fully tapped. I mean, we're going to have a lot more new fintechs creating revolution here. And I think the next set of revolution is going to happen, as I told you, in tier 2, tier 3 cities, and predominantly in tier 3 cities. But certainly the infrastructure is available. You cannot get internet at such prices anywhere in the world. What UPI is.
But what about vulnerability in that? Because we are looking at fintech, because we do look at a lot of blind spots, so to speak. This is still a new sector, growing sector. Even the market is not used to it per se. There will have to be a lot of behavioral change as well if we are looking at tier 2, tier 3 cities. How are you looking at in terms of the vulnerability aspect?
No, I think the fact that people have adopted UPI answers your question to a large extent, right? So people are realizing that through digital mode, through digital, I am able to get more knowledge. I'm able to take informed decisions, which probably was not happening earlier. Earlier, we were getting influenced by an individual, So, vulnerability in terms of, individuals misselling, to a large extent gets reduced, right? You have a lot of money lenders, you have a lot of small players, trying to push products which will suit them to earn the most out of these, vulnerable population in tier 3 cities. What fintech is doing is bringing in transparency around that. And what is important is to be able to talk to these guys and help them understand products. And that is the biggest role which the government and fintech will have to play, of creating education in every town. Work with local communities, work with local influencers to have more and more people talk about finance. As I mentioned earlier, today having women talk about finance is equally important. I mean, why only a male should talk about finance? Why don't women understand numbers? They manage the entire family. They may not be working in tier 3 cities as much, but today they are coming forward, right? If they don't understand finance, trust me, their efficiency in managing money is impacted severely. But if women start getting educated on finance, I'm sure the economy will thrive. I mean, their families will thrive and the economy will hence thrive.
I think it's the same as when you educate a woman, you educate the entire family. It's about the financial literacy part of it as well. But let's circle back to Gift City as well. And I want to understand from you as to how big a role Gift City is going to play in driving that change and driving that growth in this sector, in the country and globally as well.
So I think let's understand the purpose of existence of a Gift City. Gift City is a platform which will help companies go global. If you're talking about fintech growth story in the country, Gift City may not play, that big role, for fintech to grow in this country. For fintech to grow in this country, a lot of new players will have to come and look at segments which require, new fintechs to come up. I gave you one such example earlier, during the panel, that health insurance segment is one area where we believe there is a lot of scope. I mean, if I talk about insurance sector alone, there is space for 10 other policy bazaars in this country. And that growth is only going to come from places which are untapped, right?
That being said, that's a very big statement actually. So, because expanding on that, we are looking at new players also wanting to make their mark, and I feel Gift City is also incubating those players as well. You yourself are also associated with the mentorship of the young entrepreneurs in this sector. What is it that you think that they need to be cautious of, or they need to run full-fledgedly towards in this sector?
See, Gift City will certainly provide you the infrastructure, the incubation center for you to nurture your idea. What is fintech at the end of the day? Finance and technology together, right? So if you have some innovation, which you think is going to make a difference in this sector, there are support systems available in Gift City for you to nurture your idea, develop them, create a success story out of it, and then probably go and launch that elsewhere. So to that extent, Gift City certainly will play a big role. But in my opinion, such incubation centers are available across the country. I mean, it's not only Gift City, right? You have, as I told you, STPI has offices all over the states. You have MITI, the Ministry of IT, playing a big role through Startup India, through MITI itself. You have other incubation centers across the country. Today, incubation centers are partnering with premium educational institutes to set up incubation centers within the institute for students to come out with their ideas and nurture their ideas in those centers. There is enough grants being provided by the government for you to work on your idea and nurture them. If that is the kind of support available from the government today, there is nothing stopping any youngsters to think of a problem which is existing in this country and find a solution, right? I mean, what we need is good ideas which are unique to solving a problem in this country. And there are many problems in this country. It is not one. Somebody has to just sit and see, is there a way I can solve this problem? Is my solution unique? And if that is there, I think you just should take that leap forward and go and work with the incubation center, work with Startup India, work with Niti Aayog to be able to nurture your idea and create a success story out of it.
Lastly, I would just want you to point out you said there are a lot of problems to be solved, and I feel that a mark of an entrepreneur is to solve a problem via that business. So top 3 problems at the top of your head that you could point out that need to be addressed or can be addressed, or that there is a void that can be filled.
So as I mentioned, financial literacy is one big problem. I mean, financial literacy has been one of the biggest challenges this country is facing, right? If you look at the size of the population and the number of people who are not financially literate, it is significantly high. Second, the importance of healthcare. I mean, today's government spends significant amount of money to bring people back from poverty line because 65% of the healthcare expenditure comes from your savings. So that's one, educating people on health, educating people on why health insurance is important, so that the financial planning is better, is very, very crucial, right? Third, I think creating centers for women to understand finance. I mean, within the tier 2, tier 3 markets, how much focus are we bringing in to educate women in this country and have more and more women starting, successful fintech companies. I mean, I have just recently met a few women who started microfinance institutions. They've been very, very successful, and they only employ women. But there is scope for many such, women entrepreneurs to come into this country.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for speaking to us. And for more such conversations, keep watching Republic Business.